Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Jennifer Caveney and I will be facilitating today's presentation. So at this time, I would like to introduce Daryl Sullivan, who will be moderating the discussion today. Daryl Sullivan is the Chief Science Officer at Eurofins Scientific, and he is an expert in scientific and regulatory compliance. He specializes in the analysis of infant formula and dietary supplements and represents Eurofins across various scientific and regulatory communities, including being the current chair of the ACIL Dietary Supplement Working Group. With over 40 years of experience in laboratory testing, Mr. Sullivan is a recognized authority in analytical method validation. He previously has chaired the AOAC International Official Methods Board and has held leadership roles as past president and secretary of AOAC. He has contributed to IFT, USP, and ACIL, leading initiatives in dietary supplement research. Daryl, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, for that kind introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us today. We're very excited to go through this webinar and present some information that I am positive that you're going to find valuable. As Jen mentioned, I have a dual role in this webinar, both Chief Science Officer at Eurofins and Chair of the ACIL Dietary Supplement Working Group. So I am proud to be representing both organizations today. I'd like to introduce you to my other presenters that are with us today. Firstly, my friend Emily Britton. Emily is the Senior Market Development Manager for the Dietary Supplement Verification Program at USP. She's also the Vice Chair of the ACIL Dietary Supplement Working Group. And Emily has such a passion for the quality of dietary supplements. I am confident you're going to feel that passion when she's presenting today. So we're going to look forward to that. Next is my friend Deborah McKenzie. I have worked with Deb at AOAC International for many, many years. She's the Deputy Assistant Executive Director and Chief Standards Officer with AOAC, and AOAC is an MOU partner to ACIL, so we count very heavily on their knowledge of standards and their experience with standards. Deb is one of my go-to people with questions on standards and how standards apply to particular situations. And last but not least is my friend and colleague, Jeff Stassi. Jeff is the Senior Analytical Service Manager at Eurofins. He's also very active in ACIL. Jeff knows more about retail testing programs in the dietary supplement community than anyone I work with, and we're very honored to have Jeff share his knowledge with us today in this webinar. Let's go ahead and look at what we're going to be covering today. I'm going to do a brief introduction of ACIL and Eurofins and why it's such a great fit that we're working together on this presentation today. Then we're going to have Jeff talk to us about the changes in the dietary supplement landscape with retail testing programs. We're going to follow that with Deb talking to us about AOACs and the changing standards, validation protocols, and determining the magic question about how a test method is scientifically valid. Then we'll follow that with Emily talking about USP's role in working with organizations on verification programs, and she's going to help us understand what certification programs are and how they fit into the retailer testing programs. We do have time set aside for Q&A, so I hope you're going to have questions, and please enter those into the chat as we go through our presentations. Next slide, please. So ACIL is a trade association that represents independent commercial laboratories, scientific testing laboratories. As you can see in the picture, ACIL is very well connected in Washington. They have great advocacy, and it gives us an avenue as independent laboratories to have a voice on Capitol Hill. The Dietary Supplement Working Group has given presentations in the House of Representatives educating our elected officials about how important testing of dietary supplements are and what that means to having quality products that consumers can enjoy on a daily basis. Next slide, please. So the vision of ACIL makes perfect sense, realizing a healthy, safe environment through application of unbiased scientific testing. And that's exactly where Eurofins fits. So again, the partnership makes perfect sense. The mission is to provide independent testing, provide the community with advocacy, education, and alliances to enable the members to better work together and do a better job in their individual laboratories by being part of this valuable organization. Eurofins, I hope everyone realizes, has been a globally recognized leader in this testing world for over a century. We have 950 laboratories spanning over 62 countries, offering 200,000 analytical methods for characterizing safety, identity, purity, composition, authenticity, and origin of dietary supplements as well as other products. As vast as our network is and how proud we are of our quality, we are better when we work collaboratively with our partners. So that's why today we have partnered with AOAC and with ACIL for this webinar. We also work very closely with UNPA, NPA, and CRN in different situations when it calls for collaboration. So let's go ahead and get started and ask Jeff to share his knowledge with us about these wonderful retailer programs. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate the introduction. My role here, talk a little bit about navigating major retail requirements for dietary supplements, building trust through testing and certification. And this collaborative effort, you'll see that through all of our presentations, how collaboration and getting on the same page with quality in the dietary supplement industry is something we're all gonna have as a theme today. Next slide, please. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is a little bit about the evolution of the retailer program. I'll take you a little bit down memory lane for those of you who've been around for the past 10 years or so, and those of you this may be new. So it's kind of an interesting story back in 2015, where the New York Attorney General sent out cease and desist letters to 4 major retailers, namely Walmart, Target, GNC, and Walgreens, to stop selling herbal supplements, the store brand herbal supplements in New York. Really, it was stemmed from and I'll have you go to the next slide, Jen, so I can continue to discuss this a little bit. This was essentially the first time where a retailer was held accountable for selling supposedly fraudulent products. Now, we all know by now that the testing that was used during this expose, so to speak, was faulty. It was using improper methodology for what it was trying to do. So, unfortunately, the damage was done. There was obviously it was a big story back 10 years ago, and it still reverberates today. And the retailers now have really shifted some of the responsibilities to bring some of their own quality standards into their organization. And this was something where, obviously it placed some risk with the retailer for selling products. So, and you see the advent of some of these test programs now with Amazon and Walmart and other retailers now having their own policies to go by. So they began to develop higher standards through testing and data, and you probably know through some of the if you're all using retailers, some of the what I would say, some of the policies that they're asking for you to deal with. But they have been evolving over time, and they're here to stay. So I talked a little bit more about that. Next slide. So what are the intentions of the retailer program? Obviously, they all want to, protect the consumer, sell high quality products. None of these retailers have the intention of selling products that are of low quality, but we also understand that there is a risk to some of these products being sold. And these are obviously programs that they've designed to minimize the risk to the retailer and the consumer. All of this has a bit of a flavor of compliance to FDA requirements. So if you're doing the right things and you're following the rules, hopefully these policies that they've put together are nothing, substantial and extra that you have to do. I think that they've put some good policies in place to make sure that if you're doing the right things, this is not a whole lot of extra effort for you in that case. They also are focusing on data. Testing is a big focus of all of these programs, which is highly appreciated. No more are there a lot of quantity by inputs that can be used in these programs, and obviously so testing is a big part of this compliance program. Data, ISO 17025 is a big part of many of these programs. So if you're a laboratory in this space, make sure that you understand the requirements of each of these retailer policies. And Emily will talk a bit about product certification and where that comes into play as part of this program as well. Next slide, please. So benefits and drawbacks of the retailer program. Obviously, they're looking to focus on safety. All these programs have a similar feel to them. They have an essence of product safety, microbiology, pathogens, adulterants, heavy metals. Those types of things are a big focus for a lot of these programs to ensure that the products they sell are safe. Improved quality, looking at content claims, looking at other labeling claims that are being made to make sure that the products they're selling are adhering to the proper requirements. Also, a big benefit of a lot of these programs is to weed out bad actors. Obviously, none of us want to, are as consumers, and I'm a consumer like most of you in this webinar are as well. When you purchase a supplement, you want to trust the fact that these are quality products. So trying to weed out those bad products out of these programs is one of the intentions of the program. And I can tell you for certain that these programs are helping get these bad actors off the marketplace. Drawbacks, I believe one of the big drawbacks is the inconsistent standards and policies. Everybody has their own nuances to the programs that they want to use and maybe some differences, but hopefully what you're doing in the grand scheme of things and your day-to-day activities of testing really is a big part of what they're looking to have accomplished. Sometimes the requirements are a little bit difficult to navigate and understand, not always transparent. So, talking with the laboratories you're using help you understand what the requirements are is a big benefit. So we can certainly help you with that. Increased cost was a part of a driver of this. We wanted to make sure the cost didn't completely increase and change things of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully the costs kind of keep down a bit. And the other drawback was possible burden on manufacturers, asking the manufacturers for a bit more documentation, GMP documents, things like that. So those were some of the drawbacks that we're focused on in the beginning of these programs. Next slide. As a laboratory, Eurofins, what is the role of any laboratory really in these programs? One is to understand the specific retailer policy requirements. All of these programs have their own policies, their own procedures, understanding what you need to do to sell through some of these retailers. So understanding that is one of the roles of the laboratory, to consult you with what you need to do in the realm of trying to get compliant with the programs. Another big role is to use scientifically valid methods. Deborah will be talking a bit more on the analytical part of this, using proper methodologies. Since we're testing really finished product dietary supplements, they can be tricky, very complex matrices. Making sure you have scientifically valid methods in place to handle these programs is a very important role of the laboratory. Ensuring compliance, having the proper specifications down, understanding the units that need to be reported. All of this is very important to understand how to work with the retailer and the company and the manufacturers, the brand owners, to make sure they understand fully what needs to be compliant. Next slide, please, Jen. So how can industry support the cause? Again, this is a big part. Collaboration is a big part of what we're trying to preach preach today, is collaborating with all parties. Not any one entity should dominate this space. If we all work together, we can make a better practices for the dietary supplement industry. Laboratories, retailers, regulatory industry and trade associations coming together in a common way to make sure that we have all of the requirements down, we understand what the needs are of the industry, and really get together to communicate those and have a voice in those. So if you're not involved, I certainly would ask you to get involved and volunteer some time to these efforts as well. Next slide, please. So what challenges do we face with these retail programs? And again, there are many out there. Amazon, obviously is one of the bigger retailers as well. There is not one single standard creating different requirements. So everybody has their own policies, procedures. Is the industry heading toward a single standard? Hard to say. I mean, that's something that is being discussed in industry and a lot of these organizations trying to understand, is there one standard that we could settle on so we don't have 15 different programs that we have to adhere to. Another challenge is the expense of these programs. Obviously we're cognizant of that and want to make sure that we can keep expenses down so there's not extra costs that have to then get passed on. One of the big challenges is the use of third-party data. So if you're using other laboratories, that is perfectly allowable in most of these programs, but there are some policy requirements to use other data. That's a challenge for us to parse through the data that other laboratories supply. So using high quality, very trusted laboratories is something that certainly should be done. Different specifications, placing burdens on manufacturers. Now, these are all challenges that we're trying to overcome and make things simpler, so it's not quite a burden on the industry as perhaps some people see it to be. Next slide. So where are we headed with these programs? Obviously, these retail programs are here to stay. There's evolution in these programs all the time. I'm sure what happens today, a year from now, we may see some different things happening, but that begs the question, is there a need for a singular standard? And, that is something I won't answer today. I don't have the answer to that today, obviously, but is there a need to develop a standard? And I know there are organizations that are actively working on this, trying to develop a standard that everybody can kind of trust and understand is the singular standard for industry. We'll see if that happens and how that happens and when that happens, but certainly I think we're driving towards something like that in the future. Promoting collaboration is, again, key to this, to making all this work. Having laboratories, manufacturers, brands, retailers together at the table to make sure we're doing the right things and moving forward. Next slide. And hopefully I've put a little bit of a flavor to the retail programs, how they evolved, what the next steps might be. I'm going to pass this along. If you could go to the next slide, Jen, I want to make sure I can send this over to Deborah McKenzie on building trust with independent third-party standards and methods. Deborah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeff, and hello, everyone. Again, my name is Deborah McKenzie, and I'm with AOAC International. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk a little bit with you about independent third-party standards and methods. One of the key things and interesting challenges that AOAC hears about, regardless of the area, is the use of different methods and the data that results from that. And so even here in the dietary supplement arena, where we may have a dietary supplement of vitamin A or vitamin D or something to that effect, and perhaps it's in a capsule form of sorts. We have different manufacturers, all of whom may have their own individual different methods, and from that different results. How is that comparable? And how, from label to label, can anyone be able to judge whether or not what is on the label is actually what's in the product? And so this automatically builds up a sense of lack of confidence and not knowing if you can or should trust the label information. Next slide, please. And what it comes down to is being able to trust the data throughout the testing done in the supply chain, beginning with the raw ingredient suppliers and the manufacturers. Manufacturers have to trust the information that comes from the ingredient suppliers or the raw material suppliers. Retailers need to be able to trust the information that comes from the manufacturers. And of course, consumers need to be able to trust the information that the retailers supply. So you can see the up and downstream, benefit of being able to trust the data and making sure that there is method comparability across all points in the supply chain, and the requirements to demonstrate level of quality and verify consistency between COAs and product labeling is important to being able to build trust among the consumers and for the retailers, hence the need for some of these retailer programs. So what are some of the potential gaps in the process? Use of common methods or the need for comparable results throughout the supply chain. Being able to verify active ingredients and with safety and quality. Having that traceability and transparency. There's also the use of validated fit for purpose scientifically valid compendial methods. What methods are actually have been tested and demonstrated in their performance, their reliability, their repeatability, and their portability, based on clear definitions for target analytes capable of extracting the analytes from the dosage form, and having clear method performance metrics. And certainly there's a need for common understanding and practice for what the method validation is and should be to support a data-driven scientific approach. And that includes understanding the GMPs and retailer requirements, understanding what scientifically valid is, or at least having a consensus interpretation and understanding what scientifically valid is. And then there is the consensus content for certificates of analysis that retailers need and rely on. So next slide, please. So as we look at standards for facilitating compliance, what it comes down to is being able to build a broad base of a system that allows for participation from the various stakeholders of multiple perspectives and interests. This includes retailers, this includes manufacturers, this includes raw ingredient suppliers, this includes, regulators and laboratories and product certifications and laboratory auditors. It includes all of those stakeholders who have a role in this process. And then ensuring that due process, that we've heard from everyone, that everyone has had an opportunity to weigh in so that we can see everything clearly enough to be able to arrive at consensus and develop that broad acceptance for what the consensus should be. And all of that facilitates adherence to whatever the standards are, whether it's, trying to come up with standards for certificates of analysis or standards for product certification or standards for retailer programs. As we look at standards for methodology, this process facilitates adherence to those standards and supports compliance to not only those programs but also to regulation. Next slide, please. So what is the role of standards with regulation? AOAC can develop standards for where, there's established rules and regulations. Certainly, standards can be developed when regulations are pending, and then it informs those who are developing regulations. But where there are multiple non-existent or ambiguous rules and regulations. Standards provide an agreed upon framework of consensus-based criteria and requirements. And this takes into account the method validation, the method verification needs, and information that ultimately leads to retailers being able to have confidence in products that they then sell to their customers. Next slide, please. So this is where AOAC International comes in. The Association of Official Analytical Collaboration. AOAC was established in 1884 as part of the USDA Bureau of Chemistry at the time. Currently, AOAC is an independent third-party not-for-profit association and voluntary consensus standards development organization, as well as a method conformity assessment organization. And our vision includes global alignment for trusted analytical solutions, and our mission is advancing food safety and product integrity through standards and validated test methods and laboratory quality programs. Next slide, please. We are international and we do science all over the world. You know, we've developed a series of consensus standards. We have 2 method validation programs, the official methods of analysis, on which AOAC was founded. And we also have a method certification program for rapid and/or proprietary user-based methods. We also have a laboratory proficiency testing program. It also works with laboratories and serves as a mechanism, as an element for laboratory accreditation. Next slide, please. A little bit about the AOAC official methods of analysis. This is AOAC's primary compendium of methods. Has more than 3,000 methods. These methods are defensible and are scientifically valid as specified in 21 CFR 111. It allows manufacturers to adhere and comply with confidence. It provides consistency and reliability of test results for products in the market, and it also increases reliability and safety for the consumer. As these methods undergo rigorous scientific scrutiny, it allows for more reliability in the testing and ultimately the test results. Next slide, please. So what we do is at AOAC, we're leveraging AOAC's expertise for dietary supplements. It actually began back in 2001 as we began our work with the Presidential Task Force on Dietary Supplements, looking at safety concerns, looking at economic criteria, and looking at, what was really needed. What were some of the key challenges, as Jeff pointed to, with the New York's case. AOAC then developed a series of products along the lines, and especially engaging the industry, and that's been key throughout our time in working with the dietary supplement area. We've developed a number of methods. We've developed training programs. We've developed a series of method standards as well as method guidelines. We've also developed a section in our laboratory accreditation interpretation guidance known as the ALAC guide, and we also have a section in the Journal of AOAC for peer-reviewed methods, in addition to a chapter on methods in the official methods of analysis compendium. Next slide, please. So what's the benefit of collaborating both public and private sectors? Jeff alluded to this in terms of being able to bring everyone together and working with independent third parties. There's a better understanding of the science and impact across multiple interests. And there is increased sharing and coordination of resources and potential to reduce redundancies. With everyone developing their own methods, with everyone developing their own standards, we can reduce redundancy across the arena. Additionally, there's a better understanding of the analytical challenges and potential for development of methods and other analytical tools, and all of this supports compliance to rules and regulations. Next slide, please. The benefits of standards include standards developed with input from a variety of interested stakeholders. In developing standards, it's very important that everyone who has a material interest participate so that we can develop robust standards that are truly applicable and usable. And the focus is on innovation and data-driven science. Standards can be developed to support local and international food and product integrity and safety schemes. Again, all of this supporting compliance and rules and regulations. Next slide, please. So at the end of the day, AOAC has been doing this for 141 years. And so it really helps when, communities of science really need to lean in on those organizations that have expertise in those areas, who have the capacity to be able to help reduce redundancy, as well as help drive innovation and provide the science to support the needs and build that confidence. Leaning into expertise of independent third-party laboratories is key. Leaning into the expertise of independent third-party standards developing organizations is key. And leaning into the expertise of independent third-party product certification organizations is also key. Together, it enhances the integrity by leveraging the expertise, processes, and mechanics of these independent third parties, working separately and together with the industry to help fill in those gaps. Next slide, please. And it's really this filling in the gaps when we can come together, working with organizations like ACIL for the independent laboratories, and as well as organizations such as USP for the product certifications. You get data and you get science and data-driven results. You have a high level of integrity, and you can be confident in quality results. That helps to build the trust across the supply chain. Next slide, please. With that, I want to thank you very much. I hope I've given you a lot to consider and think about in terms of leveraging the expertise of those organizations around you and within the space to help guide you to where you want to go. And for AOAC, if you are interested in any of our participating in any of our efforts, please check out our Spectrum. We have a year-round app, and we have an AOAC annual meeting where we provide updates, and you'll get to see all of us there, hopefully. So I'll thank you and lead over to Emily, who will talk about third-party certification.
Right. Thank you so much, Deborah. And thank you to ACIL and Eurofins for the opportunity to share about how USP verification, this program, works to support dietary supplement manufacturers and brands with meeting retailer quality requirements, which really brings together all of the things that Daryl, Jeff, and Deborah have set the stage with so far. Next slide, please. So I would like to start first with a very brief overview, or perhaps a reminder, about the resources that USP provides to this community to support USP's public health mission. So USP brings together volunteer experts from all over the world to share their diverse perspectives to develop public documentary standards to safeguard quality. This act of protecting quality is really moved forward by offering physical materials and educational programs that directly connect to the application of USP's documentary standards. But there's another valuable solution that I'm excited to focus on today, which is USP's verification programs, specifically those for dietary supplements. Next slide, please. So now, Jeff already took us back a little bit, but I'm going to go back further a few centuries. So USP was founded more than 200 years ago to protect patients from poor quality medicine. And some of those medicines are now known today as dietary supplements. USP has been ahead of the curve with establishing dietary supplement quality standards and has published USP General Chapter 2750, Manufacturing Practices for Dietary Supplements, in 1993, essentially the GMPs of dietary supplements. This was published actually 1 year before DSHEA was signed into law and 14 years before the FDA issued their GMP final rule 21 CFR 111. This is a testament to USP's public standard setting process, which is fueled by expert volunteers that come from industry, academia, healthcare, government, and other nonprofits. We bring everybody together to help solve problems. So in direct response to consumers and an industry need for some level of a dietary supplement quality program, the USP Dietary Supplement Verification Program was established in 2002. And this was the first third-party verification program where an organization works directly with supplement manufacturers and brands to help them demonstrate and communicate the quality of their products. So now, 23 years later, in 2025, there are now over 160 USP verified products for sale in the United States, spanning across 18 brands. Next slide, please. The USP Dietary Supplement Verification Program, which you will see is represented and called USP Verified, with that mark that you see in the center of the circle. This program consists of 3 pieces. The GMP facility audit, which audits for compliance with USP's General Chapter 2750, 21 CFR 111, and parts of 117, additional specific program requirements, and some of the recently added or recently talked about retailer requirements. That's step 1. Step 2 is the quality control and manufacturing documentation review. And after that, we have laboratory testing. So this laboratory testing is of the products using validated analytical methods, which Deborah gave a really nice introduction for, to ultimately assess the conformance of these products with their established specifications and their label claims. Next slide. So the USP Dietary Supplement Verification Program, the value of it is quite straightforward when it comes to manufacturing. Overall, this program helps and works with manufacturers to help ensure compliance with the applicable GMP requirements and program requirements, conformance to specifications, helps to ensure product consistency, and ultimately that what's on the label of these products is what's in the bottle. Next slide, please. But there's an additional value of USP verification that I believe also truly shines in a few different ways. So one of these values is that this USP verified mark, which you earn after meeting the criteria of this program, helps to communicate that your products are trusted quality to consumers and healthcare practitioners. This benefit and this communication helps to translate your enhanced brand reputation and can also help facilitate business growth. But today, in 2025, as a manufacturer or a brand, you can't even really begin to think about growth if you don't consider first the impact that retailers have on consumer access to these products. So as you've heard from Jeff and Deborah, retailers are becoming a very important stakeholder in this community, and they've really become a sort of quality gatekeeper. And they do this by relying on the information that's provided to them by auditing organizations and programs, such as this USP verification program, testing laboratories, again, like what we offer through this program at USP, but also trusted partners like Eurofins who utilize fit-for-purpose test methods like validated test methods provided by USP, AOAC, or even those methods that are developed in-house at ISO 17025 laboratories that hold that accreditation with methods that are in that scope. And it's all done to help ensure that the products that these retailers make available to their customers are trusted quality. So next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit more and go back full circle to retailer requirements. So retailers are now increasingly requiring proof of quality and compliance before either permitting products for sale or allowing products to continue to be sold on their platforms or on their virtual shelves, right? So these requirements can include the submission of third-party GMP audit certificates. It's not really enough to just be a registered facility. These retailers, and really the industry standard, is that some third party that's independent goes into these manufacturing facilities to make sure that they are complying with applicable regulations like 21 CFR 111 and 117, but that depending on the scope of the audit, that these manufacturing facilities are going above and beyond to include specific additional quality requirements and those of retailers. The other piece of retailer quality programs, like Jeff mentioned, is testing, the submission of testing data. And these data are meant to help support and verify label claims. They are meant to support that the products have compliant and safe levels of, or that they don't contain more than the safe or compliant levels of contaminants, which of course is dependent upon the ingredients in the product. Like botanical containing ingredients would be tested for pesticides. And because adulteration is a problem, some retailers are requiring that pharmaceutical adulterants be tested within high-risk categories. So Jeff already described some of these challenges. I've listed them here again. Redundancy is a big one. If a manufacturer has already performed these tests or has already worked with a testing lab of their choice to do the tests, if they have to do it again to comply with a specific program, that can add cost and time. And sometimes the translation or the communication about fit for purpose validated analytical methods can sometimes get lost, which causes problems. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So I've shown here a few logos from some large retailers to just show a high-level comparison of what quality programs can look like. But first, I definitely want to preface this that the best source of information for a retailer quality program is to go directly to that retailer and reference their website or talk to their designated experts. But from a high level, you can see that all of these organizations require the submission of a third-party GMP audit certificate. Again, that's like the new industry standard. And those that are circled in gray require either the submission of analytical testing data or that these products be tested through their quality programs so that they can either be sold through these different retailer environments or so that certain products can qualify for certain product designations like the Target Clean program. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to tell you about how USP verified, having the USP verified mark can really help to unlock your opportunities with some of these retailers. So what this program, this certification program represents is that a third party, USP, has come in and did the work for retailers already to demonstrate that these products have been manufactured in a compliant way and that they are of trusted quality when it comes to what's on the label. So for those retailers like shown here that require the submission of GMP audit certificates, facilities that have been audited by USP, which is step one, or those that go to the next level and carry the USP verified mark on them, that meets the requirements of all of these retailers regarding their audit requirements. So if your products are USP verified, they will meet the requirements of these various retailers. And this is not an exhaustive list. These lists and these example companies are just meant to be a representation, and that doesn't indicate that these are the only ones that exist or the only ones that USP helps you with. Now, the next piece, the other side of it, is that having product certification, somebody else testing these products to make sure they're compliant, like that of the USP verified mark and program, helps to facilitate products getting onto shelves when there's additional testing requirements. So for example, having that mark on your product can in some cases exempt products from additional testing before being permitted for sale on certain platforms. That's great, and it can reduce cost, can reduce redundancy, and really speed up the launch process, which is very helpful. So this USP verified meets the requirements of all of these programs listed here, but I did want to call out one specific note about Amazon, because I'm sure many of you are aware that Amazon has a dietary supplement policy, which I've linked, that indicates that pharmaceutical adulterant testing does need to be performed for products that fall within their high-risk categories. So at this time, pharmaceutical adulterant testing is not specifically part of the USP verified program, but if any of our participants have a need for adulterant testing, we encourage them to talk to us. But I also want to note that there's only less than 6% of USP verified products right now that could really possibly fall into these high-risk categories. Next slide, please. So to really just wrap this all up, USP verification, or the USP verified mark, can help manufacturers and brands to meet retailer quality requirements, because that mark represents that trusted laboratories using validated, trusted analytical methods have already, that's already been done. The facilities have already been audited, and retailers can trust them because we already did all the work. USP verified products, again, are also exempt from additional review and testing at certain retailers, which saves time and added cost, which is always great. And really, one of the things that we're very proud of at USP, we've done a few studies, which I've cited down at the bottom, and I would be happy to share the data from those studies with anybody who's interested. But we found that the USP verified mark is the most recognized dietary supplement quality mark by consumers and healthcare practitioners. And consumers are certainly willing to pay more for trusted quality. Next slide, please. So I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to present on this program and USP's resources alongside my well-respected colleagues here, or friends in the industry who I admire very much. And I think all of us can do, when we all come together to collaborate under the umbrella of ACIL, or even just within the industry in events like this, when we put our heads together to develop and collaborate on quality standards for test methods, and share, I think it helps to bring all of us up and to help support a dietary supplement industry, which we all value. So that's all for me. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Deb and Jeff, for amazing presentations. What a massive amount of information that we have gained during these presentations. I'd like to share with you just some key takeaways I want to make sure everybody leaves us with today. And that's to ensure compliance and success, organizations must understand specific retailer requirements, as testing is always a focus of those retailer programs. And hopefully we picked that up from Jeff's presentations today. Independent third parties are here to support you. Let them be a trusted resource, helping you build consumer confidence through their expertise. That's what we're all about. That's why we work together under the ACIL umbrella. USP verified dietary supplements meet the requirements of many of these retailer programs, as we just learned, that can save brands time and money and empower retailers and consumers to confidently select trusted quality products. And at the end of the day, collaboration is the key to success. Working together under the umbrella of organizations like ACIL and their working groups and their scientific organizations amplifies the impact of these efforts. Everything we've discussed today helps strengthen the industry, and when we strengthen the industry, we all do a better job. So ultimately, working together is the key, and that's hopefully what we projected to you today. So Jen, unfortunately, I think we have run out of time. We were hoping to have some robust Q&A, but I think we're at the end of our time.
Yes, it looks like it, but we do have a few questions in the chat. So just for our attendees today who did submit questions, we will follow up with you following the presentation today.
Very good. So I would like to thank everyone for your time today and for joining us. Hopefully you learned as much as I did from these valuable presentations. I'm leaving you with the last slide that has everyone's contact information. Everyone has agreed to happily respond to any questions or individual that would like to reach out to them. As Jen mentioned, you will receive a copy of these slides through email later today, and we will follow up with answers to any of the questions that were submitted during our session today.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
with that, thank you everyone on behalf of Eurofins, on behalf of ACIL. Hopefully you take a great understanding away today of how important collaboration is towards scientific expertise and elevating the quality of these wonderful dietary supplements that we're supporting on a daily basis. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.